Ever since I was a little girl, I dreamed of my wedding day. The big, puffy princess dress, the flowers, the food, the cake, the rings. It was what I always wanted. Grandeur. Over the top, big and beautiful. I dreamt of the moment I would walk down the aisle. I always wanted to wear Converses. And the love of my life would be standing at the other end, waiting for me. But I can't necessarily have that. It depends on who I fall in love with. It depends on how that person identifies. It depends on the government, the policies, the state in which I reside. It doesn't matter how much I love her. I can't have that big, beautiful wedding day if I fall in love with a woman.
When did marriage become a political action? A political action for tax benefits, citizenship, and rewards? I don't understand. Marriage is meant to be a commitment of love, but it has become a way to receive government rewards. Just for having that piece of paper. What would God say? What would He say about the government intruding on marriage? The government that introduced forced divorce. What happened to equal rights? And treat thy neighbor as thyself. Marriage doesn't need the government support. It is a ceremony to display love between two people. I will marry my boyfriend, and I will have a strong marriage. But I wouldn't want a marriage with a God who couldn't believe in me as much as I could believe in Him. Put homosexuals in a field with a fence around them, and don't let them leave. Separate them so they can't reproduce, the preacher said. If that's the way it is, then they can have their Bible. It is just a book written, read, and interpreted by man. A book that states I can't love a man. A book that teaches about love and tolerance, yet I'm not equal. I am human and I am not equal. I am human, and therefore anything human is an alien to me.
I met my husband almost 6 years ago. He's my best friend and the funniest person I know. We started as friends that turned into something casual until one day I just couldn't picture my life without him. I don't know how it happened, it just did. Technically, he asked me to marry him 3 separate times. I said yes every time, but the ring took a little while. That last proposal, I knew we were committing to each other for life. We are partners now. It feels incredible to look over at him and know we are in this journey together. We got married in October. We went to the courthouse, simple ceremony to follow. I didn't know it until it happened, but being married is different, better, amazing. It's just different. How can we deny this joy to someone just because of who they love? Why does it matter what gender they are? Civil union is not marriage, but love is love. The first time he introduced me as his wife, my whole life was changed.
When I hear about friends getting engaged or married, I think to myself, that could have been me. My boyfriend and I had a timeline. He planned to pop the question before I came away to college, but that never happened. It never happened because I broke down and told him that even though I was born a girl, I was a man in my heart. He tried to remain committed because we had already come this far. Our relationship really hit the rocks when I told him about the future surgery. He desired so many things that I couldn't give him. He didn't want to be married to another man. When does a body negate love and commitment? My only desire is that we can live in a world where people don't have to sacrifice who they are just to end up in relationships of convenience. I only want to be myself and eventually marry another man. I deserve that much.
Growing up in a small Baptist church, it wasn't a surprise. I knew they were conservative. My mom wasn't around, so there were lots of opinions from people in my church about how I should think and how I should feel. They thought being gay was wrong and that marrying another man or another woman was against God's will. I thought I had to believe what they did. In conversations, I would silently nod along, even if I didn't agree. After moving away to college, it dawned on me. I didn't have to think the same way they did. Loving someone of the same gender isn't a sin. Love is love.
was, and I kept my room straight. I told my mom, tears rushing down my face. She's like, Ben, you've loved girls since before pre-K. Sure. Yeah, I guess she had a point, didn't she? Bunch of stereotypes all in my head. I remember doing the math, like, yeah, I'm good at Little League. A preconceived idea of what it all meant. But those that like the same sex have the characteristics. The right-wing conservatives think it's a decision. You can be cured with some treatment and religion. Man-made rewiring of a predisposition, playing God. Oh, now here we go. America the brave still fears what we don't know. God loves all his children. It's somehow forgotten, but we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago. I don't know.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted.
I would think hip-hop hates me. Have you read the YouTube comments lately? Man, that's gay. Gets dropped on the daily. We become so numb to what we're saying. A culture founded from oppression. Yet we don't have acceptance for it. Call each other faggots behind the keys of a message board. A word rooted in hate, yet our genre still ignores it. Gay is synonymous with the lesser. It's the same hate that's caused wars from religion. Gender to skin color, the complexion of your pigment. The same fight that led people to walkouts and sit-ins. It's human rights for everybody. There is no difference. Live on and be yourself. When I was in church, they taught me something else. If you preach hate at the service, those words aren't anointed. That holy water that you soak in has been poisoned. When everyone else is more comfortable remaining voiceless rather than fighting for humans that have had their rights stolen. I might not be the same, but that's not important. No freedom till we're equal. Damn right I support it. With the veil over our eyes, we turn back on the cause. Till the day that my uncles can be united by law. The kids are walking around the hallway, plagued by pain in their heart. A world so hateful, some would rather die than be who they are. And a certificate on paper isn't gonna solve it all, but it's a damn good place to start. No law is gonna change us, we have to change us. Whatever God you believe in, we come from the same one. Strip away the fear, underneath it's all the same love. About time to be raised up.
I'm tired of having this conversation, of malls filled with couples choosing china patterns and mailboxes overflowing with pastel invitations. I'm tired of the conversations. Find a nice boy, settle down, you're half straight, you'll come around flower arrangements and altar bows and cake tastings and seating chart rows, and I'm tired of watching my gay friends be engaged while my straight friends joke about being enslaved. I'm tired of the stories of old ball and chain. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage is not a typeface on ecru cardstock or a color scheme or a registry or something to mock. Marriage is beautiful.
Black bow ties and tuxedo shirts, smiles and eyes that promised they wouldn't cry, sunlight that highlights the dust of old Catholic pews, shining down an aisle on the face of the man I love, holding back tears.
Holding back tears like an 8-year-old at her grandmother's wedding. An 8-year-old who was always forgetting what princesses looked like. They're not always blonde and perfect at 22, wielding everything perfect with the something blue, but they can be. They can be 58 years old and sing Muppet Beach songs and make Mississippi mud pies and Brunswick stew. They can have gray hair or brown skin or wear pantsuits. They can be armor-clad warriors with glass slippers in their closets. Even Cinderella didn't look like a princess, not at the start, but she knew it in her heart because in it she felt love, and that can make anyone a princess. Even an 8-year-old at her grandmother's wedding. Even an 8-year-old who was always forgetting. It could be you.
It wasn't long ago that people would have condoned beating me to death with their alabaster cornerstones, justifying it because I'm a little weird, that my love is just a little queer. I would be institutionalized because I'm gay. Marriage is an institution, and they're trying to write one man and one woman into the Constitution. I would love to be institutionalized.
I would love to be married. I was once, in 2nd grade, behind the swing set with rings made of clover flowers placed on 7-year-old fingers. The kind of day where the sun never sets and recess lingers. We were so young. It was anything but a trivial proclamation of youth. It was the first time I ever knew 2 people to get married.
I remember the first time I saw 2 people get married. They were old friends over at my house, browsing through color schemes. The groom finally broke down after the 7th color swatch. He stood up and said, "I don't care who sits where, if it's inside or in the open air, if you have a professional do your hair. I love you like the sun loves a rounded boulder in a cool stream. Watching you smile is like standing in a shining city, watching the golden light fade on the day, waiting for the light in the city windows to imitate the stars." He sighed and said, "I'm tired of having this conversation. Pick the blue because it matches the color of your eyes." The wedding was months away, but their marriage started the day he picked the color blue.
There's always something blue about weddings. Usually a garter or necklace or a pair of earrings, but also something else. Something that melts between congratulations and I'm so happy for you. It's something blue. Blue like anything negative on a statistical chart. Blue like the sadness that drips from your heart when you know something is over. Blue like the skies over overgrown clover. Blue like that. There's always something old like traditions and meanings, something new like a dress or a story of meeting, and always something borrowed, like the words of a poet who has long stopped breathing, but there's always so much blue. Blue like the ink in the pen that signs divorce papers. Blue like a robin's egg. Blue. Blue like that. It's a risk. It's fragile and unstable and needs taking care of, and all those capable of true love are able to take blue and make it something unable to be cracked. For too long, I've sat back and watched some families shatter, while others were ignored, like their love didn't matter.
I watched a lesbian couple in protest. They were together for 33 years. They had helped raise me. They had silver white hair cut short because of the arthritis in their fingers. Their bones ached from age, and their weathered faces radiated love. They walked into the clerk's office to request a marriage license. They knew they would be denied. The clerk tried to explain why. In between apologies, the couple sat down. They refused to leave until they were served. 2 old souls sat on cold white tile while an officer put them in handcuffs. I watched them leave the building, walking down an aisle, parting a crowd of people, joined by 2 rings of metal. They were given sirens instead of church bells.
I watched my cousin's wedding. She stood there next to him, looking youthful, carefree, and careless. Rushed into with disregard and discontent for single life, they were floating on clouds. They couldn't feel the gravity that high in heaven with feet barely on the ground. They didn't know what it meant. Just to have the chance to stand there, just to say those words, just to be recognized as valid, they couldn't feel the gravity. It wasn't an ordinary Sunday. They weren't in their ordinary clothes or their ordinary fourth pew seats. They stood at the front. They were there to be seen. They were there to commit to each other, to themselves, to the something else in between. They couldn't feel the gravity.
It was just an ordinary Sunday. With his chest tightening and a lump in his throat, my pastor stood, bracing himself on the pulpit. The stillness sank into the creaks of the floorboards. The son of a civil rights preacher, his faith is his call to action, and his face showed the gravity of this ordinary Sunday. He said, "I will not marry some when others are denied. I have set aside the broken and battered, but I cannot sit by while they rub red eyes, trying to forget the visceral verbal violence turning them violent, hunched and huddled, hiding their shame and hands meant for holding."
I want to show you what my love is like. I want to hold your hand. I want to attribute meaning to a silly strip of metal curved into a band. I want to hold your hand. I want to feel your heartbeat and your chest rise and fall. I want to show you what my love is like when backed up against a wall, and I want to get married. And I suppose that I can just find a nice boy and settle down, hold tightly to his hand, but I can't do that. Not in good conscience. Not without knowing if I was rejecting love for the sake of marriage. Not while others fight for their chance. Not while the fight still isn't won. Not while anyone is denied. Would I feel it right and true to stand at any altar and claim the phrase "I do"? Because I don't. I don't buy the double standard. I don't buy the Jim Crow rule. A civil union's not a marriage, and to claim so is unjust and cruel. I want to show you what my love is like. I want to hold your hand while we hold picket signs and picket lines, while we take a stand. I want to show you that our love is real, that marriage is a right. I want to show you what my love is like. I want to win this fight.
Marriage is a fight. It means only a few steps past stonings and stone wall. It means teeth gnashing and chest beating and voices cracking, yelling, trying to have someone hear their story. It means kissing under warm summer rain and cool nights, holding heads on bellies, watching constellations above lit city skies. It means dirty looks and thumping books people overtook, hiding their heads in holy books, words of love mistook as hate. My love is like a protest. Deep and passionate and strong, lifelong. This vitriol is the swan song of the wrong side of history. The meaning's not a mystery. There's a reason for this fight. The right to hold a hand meant for holding, beholding a love used to withholding. I want to hold your hand.
Standing in a shining city, as the lights of the day fade, we reflect on life.
How we lived, who we touched, what made life worth living.
As the red, blue, purple, orange fire sunset kisses your face,
Who holds your hand?
that is love.
That is commitment.
And the whole world knows you found it.
If only they'd let you have it.
But it's a fight to reach that bleeding sunset.
To hold your lover's hand, to wear that metal band on your left hand as a message.
As a victory. I deserve that much.